Word is spreading through the hip-hop streets like something is about to crack wide open between some heavy names, and nobody seems fully willing to say it directly on record. But behind the scenes, the tension allegedly tying Jay Prince, Sauce Walka, and HoneyKomb Brazy has people watching every move like it's a chess game where one wrong step could change everything. It starts with whispers about loyalty, respect, and old industry codes that don't always make it into interviews. Then suddenly, social media starts piecing together posts, cryptic captions, and indirect messages that fans swear are connected, even if nobody is officially confirming anything. And in the middle of it all, Jay Prince's name starts trending again in that familiar way. When people think a warning has either been issued, misunderstood, or completely blown out of proportion. Sauce Walka, known for speaking his mind and standing firm on business, gets pulled into the conversation, whether he wants to or not. And HoneyKomb Brazy's name enters the mix from a completely different angle, adding even more confusion to an already heated narrative that fans are dissecting in real time. But what really has people locked in is the idea that there may have been a behind-the-scenes conversation that never fully made it to public. And if that's true, it could explain why timelines, reactions, and silence from certain sides feel unusually strategic. And just when the internet thinks it's figuring out the situation, two major twists start circulating online that could flip the entire narrative upside down. One involving a supposed warning, and another involving a response nobody expected to surface. In the days leading up to the current wave of tension, the conversation didn't start with an official statement or an interview. It started with small online clues that fans began connecting in real time. A post here, a deleted caption there, and suddenly the internet starts building a narrative around Jay Prince, Sauce Walka, and HoneyKomb Brazy that none of them publicly laid out in full detail. But that's how rap discourse often moves now. Fragmented information turning into full-blown stories before anyone can step in to clarify. And as speculation builds, the first major shift happens when a series of indirect posts start circulating that fans interpret as coded messages. Nothing is directly confirmed, but the timing of these posts lines up with growing online discussion about respect, boundaries, and industry communication. Some viewers believe it's just coincidence, while others are convinced it points to a behind-the-scenes conversation that hasn't been made public. Then things escalate quickly. A viral clip begins circulating where Sauce Walka is seen addressing business energy and loyalty in a tone that fans immediately start dissecting. Some say he sounds focused and unbothered, while others claim there's an underlying tension in the way he chooses his words. The clip spreads across platforms within hours, and comment sections begin filling with theories connecting it back to the rumored tension involving Jay Prince. But here's where the first twist enters the picture. A screenshot allegedly surfaces showing a vague warning-style message being discussed in a group chat, though no verified source is attached. The wording is interpreted in multiple ways. Some say it's a reminder about respect in business. Others say it's being misread entirely. Still, it fuels the narrative that conversations may have happened privately before anything reached the public eye. And that uncertainty becomes the engine of the entire story. Because once people start believing something might have been said privately, every public action suddenly looks connected. Then HoneyKomb Brazy's name enters the discussion more heavily, not through direct statements, but through resurfaced clips and older interviews where he discusses survival, loyalty, and navigating conflict in the industry. Fans begin rewatching everything, trying to find hidden meaning in past words that weren't originally tied to the situation. And that's where the second twist starts forming. An unverified post begins circulating claiming that there may have been an attempt at clarification conversations behind the scenes involving intermediaries. Nothing confirmed, no names officially verified, but the idea alone adds another layer to the growing tension narrative. Some users dismiss it as pure speculation, while others treat it like a missing puzzle piece finally being hinted at. Meanwhile, reaction pages amplify everything. Every small clip becomes proof. Every old interview becomes context. Every silence becomes confirmation. And the story starts to spiral beyond control of any single source. Then a third shift hits. A short audio snippet begins trending where an unidentified voice allegedly speaks about misunderstandings being amplified online. People immediately debate whether it's even connected to the situation or just random content being attached to a viral narrative. But by this point, The internet is already deep into interpretation mode, and even unrelated content starts getting pulled into the storyline. And that's what makes this moment so intense. Because no one can clearly separate signal from noise anymore. Everything feels connected, even when it might not be. Then a fourth twist surfaces when fans begin pointing to timing patterns between posts from different accounts, suggesting coordinated messaging or at least synchronized reactions to the same underlying rumor. Whether intentional or coincidental, the timing creates the illusion of structure behind the chaos. An illusion is powerful in situations like this, because once people believe there's structure, they start assuming intent. Then the fifth twist enters the conversation through emotional reaction posts from fans and commentary creators who argue that silence from the main figures involved is only making speculation worse. Some say speaking out would calm everything down, while others believe any statement would only add fuel to an already burning narrative. And that disagreement splits the audience further. At this point, the situation isn't just about Jay Prince, Sauce Walka, or HoneyKomb Brazy individually. It's about how online culture builds meaning out of fragments, and how quickly those fragments turn into perceived reality. As part 2 begins, the situation has already moved beyond isolated clips and screenshots, and has now fully entered a phase where social media itself is shaping the direction of the story. What started as small speculation around Jay Prince, Sauce Walka, and HoneyKomb Brazy has now turned into a constantly shifting narrative where every platform is adding its own interpretation, and every interpretation is being treated like a possible missing piece. And that's where things intensify. The first major escalation comes when Instagram Live briefly surfaces from an anonymous account late at night. The screen is dark, audio unclear, but a distorted voice can be heard speaking about miscommunication between different levels of respect and business understanding. Within minutes, the clip is clipped, reposted, and analyzed across platforms. Some viewers claim it sounds intentional. Others say it's just background noise being framed as something deeper. But regardless of truth, it spreads fast. Then the first twist of part 2 hits. A leaked DM screenshot begins circulating, showing a vague exchange referencing pressure from multiple directions and keeping things handled before it escalates publicly. No names are confirmed, no verified accounts are attached, but fans immediately connect it back to the ongoing tension narrative. The wording feels too aligned with earlier speculation for people to ignore it, even though authenticity is debated heavily, and that debate becomes fuel. Because now the internet is no longer asking if something is happening. It's asking who already knows about it privately. Then a second wave hits. Sauce Walka's older content starts resurfacing, but this time it's being re-edited by commentary pages to align with current rumors. Clips where he speaks about independence, business respect, and industry boundaries are being recontextualized by viewers who believe everything must now be part of the larger narrative. Some argue it's manipulation of old content, while others say it reveals deeper context. And that disagreement only pushes engagement higher. Then the second twist arrives. An unverified post claims that behind-the-scenes communication may have already taken place between intermediary circles, suggesting that tensions in hip-hop don't always play out publicly, but are often addressed privately before reaching escalation points. No confirmation exists, but the idea spreads quickly because it provides structure to the chaos. And people love structure, even if it's unverified. Then HoneyKomb Brazy's name gets pulled deeper into the conversation again when fans start resurfacing older interviews where he talks about loyalty, survival, and misunderstandings in the industry. These clips weren't originally connected to the current narrative, but now they're being reinterpreted as if they foreshadow what's happening. That reinterpretation becomes another layer of tension. Then the third twist hits. A short audio clip circulates online where an unidentified voice speaks about things being taken out of context online faster than they can be clarified. The clip is vague, unverified, and heavily debated, but it spreads rapidly because it fits the ongoing narrative perfectly. Some viewers say it sounds authentic. Others say it's unrelated entirely. But again, truth doesn't slow the spread. Engagement does. Then a fourth twist develops. Commentary pages begin pointing out timing patterns between posts from different accounts connected to the conversation, whether intentional or coincidental. The synchronized nature of posting creates the impression of coordinated reactions, which fans interpret as evidence that something larger is unfolding behind the scenes. And that perception becomes powerful, because once coordination is assumed, intent is assumed too. Then a fifth twist escalates things further. A viral comment thread begins suggesting that silence from all major parties involved may not be accidental, but strategic, either to avoid escalating public misunderstanding or to handle matters privately without external interference. Others argue silence only fuels speculation, making everything worse. And that divides the audience sharply. Some believe silence is discipline. Others believe silence is pressure. And neither side can prove their interpretation. By the end of Part 2, the situation has fully evolved from scattered rumors into a layered digital narrative built entirely from fragments, timing, and interpretation. Nothing is confirmed. Everything is debated. And every new post only adds another angle instead of clarity. As Part 3 begins, the entire conversation has already reached a point where facts and interpretation are fully entangled. What started as speculation around Jay Prince, Sauce Walka, and HoneyKomb Brazy has now turned into a fast-moving narrative where every new detail is treated like a potential confirmation of something deeper happening behind the scenes, even though nothing officially verifies any of it. And that's exactly where the tension peaks. The first major shift in Part 3 happens when older clips of all three names begin resurfacing again, but this time they are being compiled into compilation videos with dramatic editing and added captions. Fans start pointing out moments where phrases like respect, understanding, and business boundaries appear, and suddenly those words are being framed as if they were indirect references to current tension. And that reinterpretation changes everything. Then the first twist hits. An unverified post begins circulating claiming that certain conversations in hip-hop are often handled through channels not visible to public, implying that what fans see online is only the surface layer of any real dispute or misunderstanding. No evidence is provided, but the phrasing spreads quickly because it adds structure to a story that has been built entirely from fragments. And structure makes speculation feel like truth. Then the second twist escalates the situation. A screenshot allegedly shows a message referencing de-escalation before visibility increases, which fans interpret as a sign that communication may have happened behind the scenes before anything reached social media. Some users say it's completely fake or taken out of context, while others insist it aligns too closely with earlier patterns of vague messaging. And the debate splits instantly. Then the third twist enters. HoneyKomb Brazy's older interviews are once again brought into the spotlight, but now fans are selectively editing clips where he discusses loyalty, survival, and misunderstandings in the industry. These edits are being shared with captions suggesting there are context for current energy, even though nothing in the original clips directly references the current situation. But perception overrides context online, and that's what keeps the narrative alive. Then the fourth twist hits. A short audio snippet begins circulating where an unidentified voice mentions misreading intent through online amplification, and users immediately begin debating whether it is connected to the situation or just unrelated content being pulled into a viral storm. Some say it sounds authentic. Others say it's meaningless. But it spreads anyway, because virality doesn't wait for verification. Then the fifth twist intensifies the emotional tone. A wave of commentary posts begins suggesting that silence from all parties involved is now the central driver of speculation. Some believe silence is being used to avoid unnecessary escalation, while others argue that silence itself is what is fueling the strongest assumptions and interpretations online. And that contradiction becomes the core conflict, because now the story is no longer about specific people or specific statements. It's about how absence of clarity becomes its own form of content, and the internet fills that gap with interpretation. Then the emotional reactions begin. Fans start debating heavily in comment sections, with some saying the situation is being overanalyzed and exaggerated, while others insist that too many repeated patterns and timing coincidences cannot be ignored. The discussion becomes heated, with no clear resolution forming on either side. And that division keeps engagement alive, because disagreement fuels attention just as much as agreement. Then a final layer enters the narrative. Commentary creators begin framing the situation as an example of how modern hip-hop discourse evolves in real time, where rumors, clips, edits, and interpretations all combine to form a story that feels real even when nothing is fully confirmed. And audiences begin to realize how quickly fragmented content can become a full narrative. And that realization changes the tone again. Because now viewers are questioning not just the story, but how the story formed in the first place, and whether it was ever one single story at all. Now I want to hear what you think about this whole situation, because this is one of those narratives where the internet is completely split down the middle. Some people believe everything surrounding Jay Prince, Sauce Walka, and HoneyKomb Brazy is just exaggerated online interpretation built from old clips, vague posts, and unrelated content being connected after fact. Others feel like there are too many repeated patterns, timing coincidences, and indirect references for it to be completely random. And that's what makes this so interesting, because nothing here is officially confirmed, but everything is being discussed like it is. One short clip turns into a theory, one old interview turns into context, and one vague post turns into a full narrative online within hours. And once that cycle starts, it becomes hard to tell where the story begins and where interpretation takes over. So drop your opinion in the comments. Do you think this is just internet culture overanalyzing disconnected content? Or do you think there's actually something deeper behind the way these conversations keep resurfacing? Every perspective is part of how this story keeps evolving online. If you want more rap news breakdowns like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because stories like this don't stay still, they shift, they evolve, and they come back with new layers every time the internet revisits them.